What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium, and I'm here to talk to you about The Equalizer 3. And I keep shifting my camera. Are you seeing this? Anyways, like, share, subscribe if you want to see me knock my camera around some more. What we're really here for is Denzel Washington representing himself as, was it Robert McCall? Watch me get this wrong. Roberto. Yeah, look out for that. Yeah, I think everybody's a little hyped for this. Not everybody, but I just talked about, I reviewed Heart of Stone the other day and how it was just so generic, bland, just everything action movies are anymore that are pretty dull. Equalizer franchise isn't nothing spectacular like the John Wicks, but there's some tender love and care there. It's actually done in a way that makes you care about the movies, which translates to make you care about the action that's going on. And then when the action is going on, it's not just sporadic craziness. It feels like that's done with care too. It's shot in a certain way that is entertaining, not just like quick explosions, quick cuts. I mean, there is quick cuts to some degree, but you can tell what the fuck's going on, like those quick cuts that Denzel Washington is delivering. And Denzel's the lead, obviously, is going to give it a little more merit. This has been a fun two movies. And fun fact about me, the first Equalizer, I enjoyed it. Wasn't one of my favorite Denzel movies, but obviously when you have a catalog like Denzel, that's not saying it's anywhere near bad. It was still a damn near great movie. But for some reason, when the second one came out, I just did not have any quick urge to watch it. And I saw it had like mixed reviews, and I was like, okay, I'll check out another Denzel movie. I don't really need a sequel to this. And I was planning on seeing it, and it just slipped away from me. And I had not watched the second one, believe it or not, until right before I watched this third one. And I was taken aback by the second one. I ended up liking it just as much as the first. I was like, okay, mixed reviews. It's a little more, not as tight as the first one, and this new one would prove to be. But it was fucking good. And I'm a huge fan of Pedro Pascal. Okay? Just get that out of the way. But with the third one, measure up to now that I know both the first two, pretty damn fucking good action movies. And I gotta say, I think it did. One asterisk that we'll get to that I think held it back a little bit that I noticed, and maybe I'm losing my mind here, people. You can call me out on it, or you could be like, obviously it makes sense, because obviously it does make sense, but we'll get to that. But let's just talk about the story. As I said, I think it's a little more tighter than the second one. It's a little more put together. It's a little more also bare bones. And it's just like, even when there isn't as much action necessarily in this one, you still feel like there's no like dink and dunk along the way. You're just flowing along with the movie. It's got a good pacing to it. You're really enjoying everything that's going on. Denzel, top form as usual, with all, his dialogue and all that. There's some really good dialogue in this movie and specific scenes that are just like, okay, like this is why you are cool as shit. Not only the character, but also Denzel in general. The way he brings life to a character and the most simple of like conversations, and I don't know where you're like, man, you just make it look so effortless. You make it look so cool. You are Denzel Washington. You know that, right? You know that? Yeah, obviously you do. You know you're Denzel Washington. You know you're a bad motherfucker, and you got that bravado. You got that charisma. The shit I talk about that so many people are missing in these action movies. You bring it. Stamp of approval, but that's not from me. Obviously, that's world renowned. Everybody knows that. We know what we're going to get from Denzel. It's very rare he does not bring his A game. Even if he's bringing his B game or C game, it's most people's A game. So check the box there. Tons of fun with that. Villains, all good here. Really, really enjoy them. They're nothing spectacular, again, as you've heard me say a million times on this channel, but they are a cut above. I will say that. And I think that's because they're, like I love in my villains, they are diabolical. They are fucked up. There's like layers to the villains. Like you get your villains, but you also get your villains, which is always fucking cool. So I really nailed that portion of it for me. Really enjoyed it. Damn. I mean, it's crazy because this is it, man. Like, it's got to be, right? This is it? Is this the end of Robert McCall? Because if it is, I also think this is a fitting close to the character. I think this is a good place to leave it. I definitely don't think you need to go any further with it unless maybe you're going to do like a prequel or something. And I'm not even a big fan of that, but I think that is the only place you can go because that really leads me to my only negative of the movie. And one more quick shout out before I jump into the negative. which is not even really a negative. It's nitpicky. We'll get to it. We'll get to it though. But Dakota Fanning, how cool is it to see her with Denzel Washington again? A lot of people are big fans of Man on Fire. That is also a plus to see her work in the movie. And I don't really see Dakota Fanning in a lot of shit, but I think she really held her own in this movie, and she did a solid ass job in all her scenes. And some of that dialogue I talked about, really good back and forth. Maybe it's the chemistry from back in the day with Man on Fire. Really flows, really works. But the one negative for me is actually Denzel. It's like, what? You just talked about his dialogue. You just talked about all this shit. Yeah, I think Denzel is finally at that age where he can't really do this shit anymore, if I'm being honest. And I think, here's the thing. If you didn't notice it or whatever, I don't think it would be a problem for you. And even then, it probably might not be a problem for you. For me, it's not even a negative because it's like, obviously, he's getting older, right? And maybe I'm just wrong here. But he's getting older, and it makes sense that he can't do as much. But for me, it was like a sad type moment. I hated seeing him kind of go out on a whimper. And when you watch the movie, you'll probably be like, damn, no, he's fucking people up. Yes, he is. But also, is he? When you really pay attention to the movie, it really feels like age and father time has finally caught up with the bad motherfucker that Denzel Washington is. All the dialogue, everything, very well done. But if you watch this movie, a lot of the action is put off for a good while after, you know, your little opening shit that happens. I won't tell you exactly what that is. But, I mean, there's action for sure, but it's not as, I guess, frequent as the other two movies, in my opinion. And when you do see him go into action, a lot of it is he just seems like he's seated. It's like he's taking a seat and then he's jumping into action. And then when you are getting the action upright, it's like you see the back of him where you're like, is this even him? Like, there's no way Denzel moves that fast. And or you'll see like one of the most technical moments in the movie. Won't say who it's happening to, but you know, it's a little more hand-to-hand combat. You see some stabs happen. When you see that, you just see the body of someone getting stabbed in the arm. Could have been anybody, right? Quick cuts to that. And then there's the plot of this movie. Obviously, from like the trailer and all that, Denzel is not... He's like in a recovery stage for a good portion of this movie. And it kind of makes me wonder if this was wrote into the script specifically for the fact that Denzel, it would be another way to mask that. It's like a lot of times, like I said, the action is happening in like chairs and like talking shit, and then maybe he'll grab somebody up and like twist an arm, and he'll kind of do a threat where you're like, oh, that's badass. Or you see him stand up and you see that for a second, but it's real like quick cut, or it's like in the shadows. And then when it is like going at it, it feels like they're masking something. And then the plot of the movie with him having to rehab and get back to normal, what a perfect way to write in. Just like, okay, Denzel's kind of trying to get back on his feet in this movie, gives a reason for him to be a little bit slower and not having to have him wreak havoc like he is in the other movies. And watching that, obviously not Denzel's fault, and obviously maybe like I'm crazy, maybe like he could do another movie like this, but also obviously it makes sense that age catches up with everybody, and this is the last one, and maybe when they're throwing this together, like, let's do a swan song. But like I get the vibe that that's what happened. They're like, let's do a swan song, let's finish it out. But like, how, you know, I can't move like I could 5 years ago because, you know, it's just 5 years, but you're already as old as Denzel is. I mean, how old is Denzel now? He's pretty old, people. I want to put a number on it, but I don't want to say a fake number. I didn't look it up. I actually meant to. But I think they kind of just made this script around his age, and like they really did. Again, when you're watching the movie, you won't feel it. But since I picked up on it early on and I was like, what if? And then it just kept happening. I think they really like missed a few opportunities to do, you know, just go out with an absolute bang with action, certain action sequences that they were kind of limited on doing. And I really do believe that. And it's also kind of sad because you're like, oh, you see like another one of your heroes just getting too old. And maybe, you know, somehow Denzel hears this and he's like, you motherfucker, now we're doing Equalizer 4. Like, that was just the script. Okay, maybe. But that was the vibe I got. Am I crazy? Maybe you're like, you are, and then you watch it again and maybe see it a little more. Maybe I am crazy, but that was something that kind of hampered the movie down for me. It was a negative for me that really isn't a fault of the movie, but it was kind of sad that like we couldn't see Denzel, in my opinion, in top form, which obviously with each passing movie is not in top form, but at least the last two movies, I felt like he could get around a little better. and it felt like he couldn't to me, and I felt that. Even, when you get to like that finale action scene, felt that a little bit there. And then of course the last scene, I think, is kind of executed, I won't say what it is, in a way to where again you can mask that he's not able to just center camera Denzel, boom 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 boom. It's I don't know, hurts the movie for me. Still really good though, really enjoyed it. Cut above all these other fucking action movies. Everything's well done. I think this is a great close of the character. This is a 7.6 out of 10 to me. Still really enjoyable. Get out and see it. Denzel, man. All our guys, they're just getting old, brother. Getting old. What did y'all think of Equalizer 3? Let me know. Love you guys. Peace.